What is up, guys? Welcome to Top October Baits. This month we got something a little special for you guys. We're about to start off our Ben Milliken seminar. We're gonna be running through separate this time, but you'll still have me, you got Seth coming up, you got Shane Edgar coming up, and lastly, Milliken's gonna give you his favorite baits for October. So stay tuned for this video. Check it out, guys. We got our top October baits for you today. One of my favorite times of the year to fish. It's getting nice outside. Water temps are cooling down. You know, you got those fish moving up. They're gonna start feeding on bait like crazy. So it is hard to beat a topwater this time of year. I kind of got a 2-for-1 here. You know, the Hush Frog, favorite frog, talk about it probably every top baits, but the Hush Frog, especially if you got cover on the shoreline, wood, fishing grass mats, any sort of thing like that. Hush Frog's a good one. Stay with the white or like the shad spawn color. You know, they're mostly feeding on shad right now. And then the next one, this is gonna be better for your, you know, more open water bank, covering water. It's gonna be the 6th Sense Catwalk. I mean, I'm just casting it. I like to parallel it a little bit to the shoreline and just covering water with that guy. But that Royal Chrome's a hard to beat one. And that's for my topwater. Keeping it simple with that. I know Seth talked about the square bills, so I'm gonna hit a little bit on the medium diving cranks, more specifically flat-sided medium diving cranks. There's not a lot on the market, but these are two of my favorite. The Pressure series. This one is a little louder. I like to throw it, you know, when they're eating good. It's got that hard one knock in there. You can cast them a mile, but it's just got that little different action with those flat sides. So they got this from a PD4 all the way up to 16. That is gonna be a great one. And then the Little John. Same thing, they got the, you know, the MD, the shallow version, and the DD. This DD60 is really hard to beat. This one's a little more finessey, you know, a little smaller profile body. And it's actually got a tungsten ball in there that's coated, so it's got just a little more of a muted sound. But when they're acting really weird, freaking, that's a hard one to beat right there. They got a bunch of amazing colors in that. And then lastly, I'm gonna hit you guys with the big bait, the glide bait. You know, especially if you got specific kind of hard structure you're fishing, you know, whether it's habitats that are man-made, you know, brush piles. I really like hitting those with the glide bait. You know, my two options right now, the Draw 9, that's your little more subtle, just, you know, you're just kind of swimming around. And if they're a little more erratic or I need to fire them up, you know, something like this Glideway right here, these are amazing. You get that nice mix of choppy and then kind of that wider action with it. You know, throwing that off bluff walls, hard structure, freaking, you guys will catch some big ones on the glide bait in the month of October.
Hey, what's up, guys? So we're here, we got October coming up, and I've got my 3 for my best baits in October. All right, October, it's the season of the buzz bait. All right, it's that month, it's that time. Love throwing the double buzz. I seem to pick up better fish and bigger fish on the double buzz than I do on a solo buzz. Typically I want a little bit more wind for that. If I have less wind, I'll pick up a solo buzz, but this one has been a key player for me from Persuader. Also, I'm taking a horny toad, and I'm taking that skirt off of that guy, and I'm putting a horny toad on there. Gives you castability and something for them to hold on to. Secondly, I talked about this before with flat side square bills, guys. You gotta have 2 different ones in your arsenal. You gotta have a silent one and one with rattles. I like the silent one from Evergreen. It's the Flat Force. That's one of my top favorites right there. Catch them all over with that. And then of course the 6th Sense Flat F4. That sucker, it catches them anywhere I go. It's got a nice knock in there. You can hear it right there. Lastly, when you go with the chatterbait, you gotta go with chatterbait. And I've been loving the Evo Elite Tungstens and then also the Baby Jack. I'm throwing that Baby Jack in clear water or when those fish get, you know, they start slapping the bigger chatterbait. I'm not getting hookups or I'm losing fish. I'm switching that Baby Jack and I'm throwing on there either a regular Zacho, all right, on the big chatterbait, regular size chatterbait, or I'm throwing the 3.5 Slim on that Baby Jack. It fits perfectly. Those are my top baits, guys. And I'm looking typically this time of year, I'm trying to find that dirtier water with bait around, fish shallow. I'm beating the bank, I'm getting up there shallow, trying to find those fish around structure, rock, whatever I can. And these 3 baits can be dynamite this time of year, guys. Come pick you some up. Copper State Tackle, we got the baits.
What is up, guys? Shane Edgar down here at Copper State, going through my top baits for October. Gonna be a couple things. Obviously, you gotta go topwater. I like to have a good walking bait. The shower blow is one of my favorites. It has, you know, it's a walking bait, but it has that cupped front, so it kind of is a popper slash walking bait. This is a really good one. Any good walking bait that you like is a good one. Also, the greenfish tackle, toad toter, a buzz bait. Any of the buzz baits, I mean, I'm not big on any specific one, but buzz baits, topwater, month of October is a big one. A couple other things we got. This is something that stays on my deck all the time. This is the 88 Baits Micro Desert Rig, A-Rig. Pair it up with your Kitex. I got the 3.3s is what I throw on my hook baits, 2.8s on my non-hook baits, my teasers. This is a bait that gets thrown a lot. These are when the fish are down a little bit deeper, live scope it or just cover a lot of water if they're, you know, in that 10 to 15 foot range where the top water isn't quite pulling them up. And then the other one that's a little subsurface that we're running a lot of bank with as well is the Reaction Innovations Skinny Dipper. Any shad pattern or color is a good choice. You want to pair this up with a weighted or unweighted twist lock, throw it out there and just burn bank with it and cover as much water. These fish are normally generally wolf packed up. You get some singles here and there, but you got to cover a lot of water to find them. So the key is to cover a lot of water, kick that trolling motor on high, and this bait is a really good one to cover a lot of water.
What's up, guys? Ben Milliken here. We're going to talk about my favorite baits for the month of October, really around the country. There's one word on my mind, and that is big. And if you look at my bait selection for October, these guys are all big, and I got these 4 different types of baits picked out because they can cover all different areas of the water column. So the first thing, we'll start at the bottom and we'll go all the way up, is this brand new bait from 6th Sense, a very, very special bait, a very different looking bait called the Bodega. This is a big creature bait. I love the 6.5 inch size this time of year. Throw it on a free rig, that's my favorite way to throw it, or throw it on a jig trailer for a big rubber jig. This guy is killer, and I'll fish this around a lot of secondary points. I'll fish it around brush piles. I'll fish it around docks, and really I'll just throw it to fish that are kind of cruising on some of those points and holding tight to the bottom. It's become just a staple in my arsenal because that natural flow and wiggle of those tails, something I haven't seen before, and they act like it. They eat it really, really well. Moving up a little bit in the water column, this is the time of year when the fish will really start getting on some of the bigger bait fish, and it doesn't matter if you're fishing tight to the bottom, up on a secondary point, up on some riprap, or up against a cliff wall or something like that, or if you're fishing out a little bit deeper on some of that structure that you'll traditionally catch the summer fish on, that's when I'll throw the 6th Sense Hangover. This swim bait is great. It's a line through swim bait. I've caught so many double-digit bass on this bait right here, and really it's great for fish, you know, 2 or 3 pounders. Tournament size fish are gonna help you guys get out and catch better than average size fish. Fishing a lot of the same areas, like I said, that I'll throw the Bodega, except I can fish it anywhere from, you know, the bottom of the water column up to 5 or 10 feet off the bottom is where this thing really, really shines for me during this month. Another bait that's absolutely killer this time of year is a big glide bait. And I will fish this bait really this time of year around brush piles and wood cover out off the bank. Brush piles are super good in the fall period, especially if the lake gets drawn down a little bit. The fish will get off the bank and they'll really suck on some of that brush piles. Not generally the super deep ones. I like to get in the shallower brush, the ones that have a nice clearance, you know, 3 to 8 feet over the top of the brush pile. That's when you can work this draw down. You can weight it with a little bit of lead wire to get a super slow sink, and that big profile can draw those fish, like it's called, up out of the brush piles to catch those big ones. And you can catch some giants on this one. And then last but not least, you can't think about October and fall fishing without throwing a topwater. And once again, I'm throwing something big, 6th Sense Magnum Catwalk. I've grown to love this bait. It is the first topwater bait that I reach for all year long, but especially the month of October. I'm thinking more around, you know, grass lines, places where there's a lot of big gizzard shad in the area. You're just gonna pull fish better with this bigger topwater bait than you could with your little tiny stuff. Fishing it around a lot of those big cliff, canyon, rock, boulders, stuff like that. A big topwater is the deal. And this big one here is just gonna pull fish and have more draw power than any that I've ever used before. So those are my 4 baits for the month of October. Get you guys some from Copper State Tackle and get out there on the water and start catching.